Hi there! Today I'm playing this game called Code LLC. If you don't know it yet, Code LLC is a roguelike game about running a mining company. I never play games like this and I'm not much of a hardcore gamer. I'm actually pretty bad at gaming and I don't have the basic skills that regular gamers have, but well, my partner is developing a strategy, mining and building game, and I put myself in the position of being in charge of the marketing. What do I know about marketing? Little to nothing, but the first advice I see everywhere I look is know your audience. So with that idea, I'm making this series to discover on my own what is so good about these games that are similar to ours. What can we learn from them and why not have some fun playtime? By the way, if you are into this genre, you can check out our game Oreguard Mining Endeavors. Right now it is in development, but you can already add it to your Steam wishlist. All of that said, let the games begin. Okay, first impressions. These are quite peculiar visuals for a video game. Ay, me encanta esa nube. Some people might even say it's ugly, but the simplicity is well executed because the art style is consistent. I noticed that you can customize your character, but then I realized that at the beginning I wouldn't have any way to change anything. Everything was locked until I earned it. During my first exploration, I learned that the game has 3 modes. I started in standard, then there are modes related to skill level and the tools at your disposal. And initially you can only select the internship, and then you have other modes which are related to the terrain variations. For example, standard, where the best minerals are found deeper underground, another where you progress sideways, another where you progress upward, and so on. Of course, at the beginning only standard is available. Start day 1. Mi primer logro. First day of school. On my first day, and the only one in that run, the only thing I learned was that if you don't fill the goal quota, you die. Simple as that. I had no idea what to do with the E key, I was completely lost, and basically using the pickaxe on autopilot. I had questions, but very little time to answer them all. I had to figure out how to jump, como salto, con el espacio, with the spacebar. And I didn't even realize I had no way to climb back up because I had mined the tiles vertically. I had the goal in my inventory, but I didn't do anything with it. Y tengo 0 de 40 porque, claro, tengo que preguntarle a... Uy, yo me perdí. Until time ran out and the statistics appeared showing that I hadn't collected or earned anything. Qué mala soy, Dios mío. My gamer instincts are so non-existent that I kept saying I should have asked the gentleman for information. Se supone que tenía que haberle preguntado al señor ese de ahí arriba. That was the end of my first run. This is me realizing I have to start over. On my second run, I was absolutely certain that the first thing I needed to do was look for instructions, instead of trying to figure everything out by myself, because I already know that's a terrible idea. At least I discovered the stockpile on my own. Esa no sé lo que hace. Keep off my coal. O sea que aquí tengo que poner el carbón. Supongo. Vamos a preguntarle a este sabio. Welcome. Claro, esto es lo que tenía que haber hecho la primera vez. Preguntarle al shady dude. The shady dude finally gave me the basic instructions that 5-year-old kids apparently don't need, and I was back to mining. One of the things I find difficult in some games is using the spacebar to jump. It just doesn't feel right to me. After barely filling the quota, day 1 was successfully over, and I was ready to explore the things I could buy or upgrade. I went for adding some extra time, since the quota for day 2 is double. And that was it. I got to work, and then some more words of wisdom were bestowed upon me.
Ya estoy viendo y te voy a dar un consejo rápido porque no pasa trabajo por gusto. ¿Cómo tú vas a salir de ahí? Tú eres consciente que tú tienes que ser capaz de volver por donde estás cavando, ¿no?
No, that had not occurred to me. But first I had to change the jump key, because jumping with W feels much more natural to me. With the extra time and by being careful not to dig too deep, I managed to complete day 2 successfully. I hired an intern, and wisely this time, I bought platforms for climbing and ladders too, which, spoiler alert, I couldn't use because I had assigned W to jumping. Hola, amigo!
A few moments later.
I bought some dynamite and increased my inventory capacity. It seemed like I was finally making smart decisions until my gaming illiteracy came back to haunt me. I tried left-clicking, scrolling while holding shift, but I couldn't figure out how to switch the selected tool in my inventory. I had the dynamite, but I had no idea how to use it. I ended up just dropping it on the map right next to my 20 ladders. Ah, no, esto no es lo que quería hacer. ¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué es esto? ¿Pero cómo activo la dinamita? Of course, I couldn't select the platforms either, no matter how many times I clicked them. So I quit without saving and started over. This time without dynamite, but with a collector. Then, as if by magic, it suddenly occurred to me that to select other inventory items, I had to use the number keys. Ay, qué guay, claro. Magic. Anyway, I didn't fill the quota and I died. Again. I decided to try peaceful mode. You can play in a much more relaxed way, because there's no quota to fill, even though the timer still runs. In exchange, however, the rewards for what you mine are much lower, so you don't make much money to progress and upgrade. The upside is that without the pressure of quotas and without much money on the line, I was able to experiment and get familiar with other equipment, like explosives. ¡Oh, qué guay! ¡Oh, por Dios! ¿Cómo no había visto esto? ¡Dios mío! Y ahora la bomba. ¡Oh, por Dios! ¿Cómo no había hecho esto antes? ¡Ay, Dios! ¡Qué satisfacción! A moment to appreciate my multi-directional movement skills. Yo saltar y moverme a la vez es un poco difícil para mí, no juzgar, por favor. With the new knowledge I had gained in peaceful mode, simple yet incredibly valuable, like using platforms and explosives, I was ready to give standard mode another shot. Even though I hadn't made it very far in any run, I had played enough to unlock a new mode. This time I played as a shaman instead of an intern. The pickaxe in this mode is incredibly powerful. When you hit a block, all connected blocks of the same type take damage as well. The difference in how easy it becomes to meet the quota and progress is enormous. Of course, I also changed my character's appearance and gave her that adorable little bow. For the first time, I was able to access one of those chests, which rewarded me with a purple scroll offering 3 possible upgrades, or money. What did I choose? Money. Some people might think that was a poor decision, but I only had a few seconds left before the day ended, and I thought none of the upgrades would have given me enough of an advantage. I had no idea that upgrades carried over for the entire run, and not just for the current day. Then came the spectacular moment when I realized that the equipment available for purchase wasn't organized only by ascending price, but also by category, which I didn't know. As a result, I had never actually seen all the affordable options available to me. But that was over now. I discovered the flamethrower, and I was happy. I have to admit, it's not as effective as the pickaxe when it comes to collecting gold specifically, but it's far too satisfying to use. Watching it deal massive damage to the tiles and seeing resources start raining down everywhere is immensely gratifying. Thanks to the electric pickaxe and the flamethrower in shaman mode, I managed to survive until day 7, but that was as far as I got. Then I died again. In my next run, I did more of the same. I kept using only platforms, didn't pay attention to chests, and overused the flamethrower without prioritizing coal extraction. On top of that, I kept going back to the surface to stockpile coal before my inventory was even full. This wasted my time and made me inefficient. One thing I did differently this time was buying the jetpack, which was definitely a noticeable upgrade, but not enough. The most significant change was fixing the keybind for using ladders, which I had previously disabled after changing the jump key. I bought the Infinity Ladder, which let me climb infinitely as long as it didn't collide with any tiles, a major improvement compared to constantly building platforms. And even with all of this, although I had made it a bit further, I still didn't get past day 8. I gave it another try, but I made similar decisions and repeated the same mistakes, so I didn't get past day 11. Feeling a bit frustrated, I thought maybe I should revisit standard mode with the experience I had gained, and that's what I did. This time I played smarter. I started prioritizing chest upgrades, and I consistently chose to increase my character's climbing speed, like every time. I got to try the rifles, which are basically the equivalent of the flamethrower in shaman mode. And once I met the gold quotas, I focused on mining more valuable resources to earn more money for equipment and bonuses. At that point, I felt pretty proud of the coordination I had developed. For the first time, I reached the 3rd layer of terrain, and even then I lost on day 11, due to insufficient inventory capacity, I would say. At that point, I was ready to stop. Each run lasted about an hour, and the idea of starting over again felt exhausting. But what was the point of playing if I didn't win for you, my beloved subscribers and viewers? After all that effort, was I really going to leave the video unfinished? I wouldn't go and pull the classic follow me for part 2, so I took a breath and started again. This time I chose a different mode that I had just unlocked, Barbarian mode, where you only have pickaxes, but with the advantage that from the very beginning, your pickaxe damages multiple tiles. Ironically, this was the mode where I finally succeeded. No flamethrowers, no rifles, no jetpacks, no explosives. There are still so many items in the shop I haven't even tried, but to win for the first time, it was enough to manage my pickaxe upgrades well and have a clear strategy for each level. The improvement in my character control was undeniable, and even though I had to start over many times, I finally got to taste victory. I honestly can't wait to keep playing. Now I get to try out the different maps and gear in endless mode. I genuinely loved the game, even though it's not the kind of thing I usually play. Luckily for you, I've got more new games to try, so subscribe, like, comment and share if you want to witness my gamer journey. And don't forget to add Oreguard to your wishlist. Thank you for watching and see you next time!